Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. Today with Katharina and Suchada and Navasit. And I'm going to answer some questions about love.
Yeah. So my question is, how could we define love?
Define love. You know, in the way we use love in the language, like here, it's not only English, but in many other languages too. It has many different meanings. It is something that you can stretch in many different directions. So starting from, I love you, but I also love ice cream, and I love this, and I love that, I love sunshine, and whatever. It has become meaningless. So to really understand meanings again of words, remember we talked about that once before, that the spelling, the words are a spell, and the more the words lose meaning, the more we lose meaning. And we can see that very well in what is happening in the world, that love, like the way we use the word love, does not mean much anymore. I mean, you fall in love with somebody, and then you fall out of love with somebody again. So this is not really what love is about if you look at the true spiritual meaning of love. So in the Greek language, which is actually an ancestor kind of our languages, there were many different words for love. And I get that out, and I will share my screen, and we will look at love, at the different kind of love that is defined here. Okay, you tell me if you can see it.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the first kind of the passionate love, the emotional love also, that is really kind of like a huge wave of emotion that comes with the passion, that is called Eros. And you know the word Eros from erotic. This is like in many different languages, there is a kind of a word that is similar to erotic. And this is that first kind of love, the physical love. In the Greek god of fertility, Eros is passion, lust, and pleasure. So we have like, see, the thing is, when we for everything use the word love, we have no clear definition anymore. Now we use here like Eros, and the Eros love, love is also, here you can see it, that the Greek gods, they considered Eros to be dangerous and frightening, as it involves a loss of control through the primal impulse to procreate. Eros is an intense form of love that arouses romantic and sexual feelings. So this is a very important key to remember, and this is in general like that. The way in our polarity, as we approach things, the word love also often triggers fear in the way we use it, because we use it in polarity. You remember also we were talking about this, the consciousness levels, the different consciousness levels. So when people are in consciousness level where there is still fear and guilt and shame and all that, it becomes a controversy, and it involves fear. If you move up over the consciousness level, like according to Dr. Hawkins, like we go 500, 600, that spiritual love is more like peace. It's a feeling like peace. We talk about that. It's not an emotion. Most ways that we define love, it's an emotion. And remember, emotion, energy in motion. And at one point that energy stops and the motion changes. That's why it is not stable.
You mean the personal love?
Any kind of personal love that is connected with the persona, with the ego, is not stable, cannot be stable, because when you move through different consciousness level during your life, when you evolve, when you learn something, your feelings, your emotions change. And this is also that what is changing is what you call love. So let's go back to this one. Okay, so this is the whole part which is connected with sexuality, with procreation. This is the passionate love. This is like, really, this is a wave, and when the wave has a peak, and then it goes down again. So this is something that usually does not last, and that's why it does involve fear. And this is why when people fall in love with somebody because of sexual attraction, it never holds. It cannot. Because it's the same like the food. You don't want to have the same food every day. And that's exactly with sexuality too. So it needs something else, that our even sexual approach between two different egos can keep an attraction. But this is not that Eros love that is focused on sexuality, on Eros, on pleasure. This is always coming and going. Then the next important, that we have Philia. And Philia is an affectionate love, a friendship, a deep friendship. I think that Philia is something that can last longer, and that is more stable. Like, you know, if you have a very, very close friend, like, you know, girls hanging out together, maybe you still have a girlfriend from when you were young, or a boyfriend, but not sexual, just like boy and girl. Like, this kind of hanging out can be quite a deep friendship, a sympathy, and also often connected with things you do together. This is kind of a more, I don't see so much the physical attraction here, but it's more an emotional, mental attraction with having similar interests. This is the body. With this body I can steal horses. You can rely on the person. You can be close to the person. You can share all your secrets, and you know the person's not going to betray you. So I would say, if you want to have a decent partnership, you need at least this two, both, this kind of love. Many people think friendship is not important when you have a love relationship, but I think friendship is much more important than the sexual part, because once you vibrate and you understand each other, then the sexual part can be much more harmonious, because you don't need to be afraid that the other one's gonna abandon you or gonna use you or misuse you. So, for example, it's also something that we have often today. You fall in love with somebody fast because of sexual attraction. You have sex, you are together like boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. And then this attraction is over very soon once you get to know the person and you realize you cannot be friends. And this is something that happens often. And we can see today this, when everything go fast, and, you know, like when you consider that in all the times people have been together, like my parents, for example, they were engaged for 2 years or something like that. That's a long time. And it's like they get to know each other first. Like, when you think about how people were getting together, courting each other, then they go out for a date, and they go out maybe for a hike or for something, and it takes quite some time till the sexual aspect is coming into a relationship, until they know each other much better. And then it's also very often that a friendship in the beginning might not even have had a sexual attraction.
I see.
But the more you know each other, the more you trust each other, you start to love each other, and the sexual attraction is coming too. It doesn't have to, but it does often. That just remind me on one thing, that of the arranged marriages. It happened often, not always, definitely not, that arranged marriages, that in the beginning, the people, they did not really like each other, but they had to get married because of whatever reason. This is not so much actually for the royals, like they just intermarry for the bloodline. But even for other people, to make this marriage contract was often the case. So first of all, they had to get together. I mean, really, bang, you're together, and to know each other. So if they were willing to try to make this work, what many, especially normal people, did, because they know they have to survive together, then very often it happened that the sexual attraction was coming too. And there was also the matchmaking actually with horoscopes, which when you had a good astrologer, that was quite well, because you could see immediately, and we can see immediately if a couple's coming together. When you look at the progression, if this is just a flame that, like in a whatever time when this constellation is gone, is not working anymore, or if it is something that is more stable, as in the natal chart, the connection, that it will be there the whole life. But you can also see in the chart the ups and downs in a relationship. So we have here, when again going back to the paper here, when we have at least Eros and Philia for a relationship, that's already a lot. But if it's only one of them, it's difficult. But then we come to the agape. And agape, this is now the spiritual love. This is what you can experience when you're deep in a meditation. And this is what I said, that is more the feeling of peace. You're at peace with everything. You don't emotionally love everything, but you are, I cannot find another word. You are at peace with everything. You can accept everything. And you are filled with this kind of soothing feeling that everything is okay. And then this is that kind of love you radiate. The selfless, universal love, such as the love for stranger, nature, or God. This love is unconditional, bigger than ourselves, boundless compassion, and the infinite empathy that you extend to everyone, whether they are family members or distant strangers. And this has nothing to do with that personal love anymore. This is a complete different feeling. And it is not an emotion. The Philia and the Eros, they are still often connected with emotions, feelings, emotions. Like once, like this would be really the agape is just like this kind of stable.
I have one feeling. It is a question. I feel like Eros and Philia, or even the agape, right? It has the quality of giving something and wanting something. So
you're talking about agape now.
And I'm talking about all three.
All three, okay.
Like the arrows is like you want to, to possess the physical body or something like that, or even the Philia, you want good relation, good
Okay.
emotional, and
Yes.
for the agape, it's like you give endlessly, boundlessly give.
Yeah, because at the moment when you come, see, now this is also the higher consciousness level. Again, we have, remember, talked about 500 where is love, and then comes unconditional love, peace. So this is in this area, unconditional love and peace. You completely know about the cosmic law, the universe. You don't need to want anything anymore, because you know that everything what is coming in your life, you attract it through your energy. So you don't need to give, and you don't need to receive anything. You don't need to strive to give or receive. It goes automatically because of your consciousness level. When we still have the other love, and we're gonna talk about the others too, that it's still that giving, that consciously I give, maybe even I give my partner this or that, or my love, I give it this or that, because also you still have expectations. But when we talk agape, there is no expectation, there is only knowing. You know, this is the big difference between knowing and believing. We have the opposition, knowing is just like all here, it's all here. And when you talk about believing, we have the opposition of doubt. It's like also hope. Hope, you know, you hope to get something, but you're not completely sure. There is also the opposite, is negative, is doubt. But once you know, it's an experience. We can say that we have a triangle when we have here hope and we have here doubt, and you have an experience that jump you up to the third point, which is knowledge. So you know if something works or not. And once you know, you don't need to speculate about it anymore. And this is kind of that energy feeling where you are in that consciousness level of agape, the knowing. And the knowing is like, you know, you are a divine being having a human experience, and you accept all the experience. That's in the Buddhist term that when Buddha says, you can experience everything, but don't be attached to anything. So this is the flow. And this would be then that state that we would call agape, because there we are in the flow without expectation. Because it's beyond the ego, the personality. And then we have here Philia. This is the self-love. Now, this is close to agape, because the Greeks understood that in order to care for others, we first must learn to care for ourselves. As Aristotle said, all friendly feelings for others are an extension of man's feeling for himself. Now, this is a very important key, because that's what happened in all kind of I love you. It's always that you see something that you want to be in the other person reflected. And this is like the part in you that you feel is not whole. You attract always a partner in your life that brings something in your life that you want but don't have. So the first part is like, you start to learn to love yourself, that you can really go into a relationship with somebody else. Because if we don't care for ourselves, how can we really truly care for somebody else without the expectations that at one point will be disappointed because the other person does not know all the time what we expect from the other, and that's what gives again difficulties. So this is the friendly feeling for another, the extension of one's feeling for oneself. And of course, since we are living in polarity, and we are like men and women, even if the current paradigm is a bit confused about that in the moment, we want to be whole. So in a way, the couple, the man and the woman, the yin and the yang together, in the outside, in the polarity, makes a whole. But within us, you know, we talked about that also, that our spirit has no gender. But when we come into polarity, we have to choose if we come in the body of a man or a woman, because the experience is different. And even if you make operation or whatever, you cannot change the physical body completely. It's not working. You can still see if the original body is male or female. Already the muscles and many things are completely different. So anyway, here we have the self-love that you learn to understand. And if you have already self-love, we have also much more fun and much less problem with Philia and Eros.
But I have a question.
Yes.
When you talk about the self-love, I think how can we define self-love from selfish?
Okay. Selfish is when you do something because you expect somebody else to do something for you. If you do that, you do only things because you have the expectation of a return. So I gonna do this for this person, or I do this, or I work even for a certain company, or even if I know maybe the ethic of that company is not very good, I still do it because of selfish reason, that I want more money. That job pays more. Like, for example, I had a guy who was selling cigarettes. I think I told you that before, and he had quite a good salary. And he told me, oh, I really don't want to do it anymore. I know it's bad and cigarettes and blah, blah, blah. But the job is paying very well. So, okay, you have to choose. I mean, okay, you look around. You have maybe to get a little bit less money for the moment, but you can still start to build up something else. So this would be selfish. But self-love is, that's so difficult. See, we have so difficulties with words. To love yourself, self is like your higher self, self with a capital S. That means you love God within you. So this is the real self-love, not the selfish love. Because I know I'm a representative of the divine, of source, of creation. And as personified part of the divine, I have experience. So the divine looks through my eyes, hears through my ears, talks through my mouth, experience through my body. And I love my body and I love myself because I have come here for this experience, to kind of bring this experience home, because we're coming from somewhere. That's when we come in the body, we come from somewhere. When we leave the body, we go again. So we bring home, once we leave that body, all the experience that we had. So we need to love that body, to take care of the body, that we have a good body, to be strong, to be reliable, and to form a good character. That is what self-love is. Does that make sense like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because again, selfish is just when you are stuck in your ego and in polarity, because you always have expectations.
I see.
Okay, so we have another love that is storage. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, but I just pronounce it now English. So this is a natural form of affection experienced between family members. So this is also like when we incarnate and we incarnate into a certain family, we kind of have a contract. So this contract that we are a family, we take care of each other, we protect each other. There is a certain like kindred souls attract each other for a family. Like there is this kind of, yeah, the kinship. This is a good word, kinship between parents, children, grandparents. And also it goes further into patriotism towards a country. So we have as a small unit, we have the family. Then we have a bigger unit, maybe as the village or the state or the country, that goes into this kind of loyalty to the country. This is something which is also very important to understand, that this is a love that is very important, that our society works to be loyal to where we come from and what we are. But then we have afterwards, I forgot to put that bold, the mania. Like, see, when this is now the opposite, when love tumbles into obsession, it becomes a mania. You know the word, you're a maniac. So this is the stalking behaviors, codependency, extreme jealousy, violence, are the symptoms of mania. So this is, we can say, this is kind of the opposition that very often happen when we have like Philia and Eros. Like the waves go very high, but the friendship doesn't work. And then suddenly there is mistrust and you start to become jealous and all these things start to happen. That is also connected to kind of, when we say love, we are still here in polarity. The only love that is, in my opinion, outside of polarity is agape. And all the other loves, they have still that kind of polarity feeling to it. So this is like when somebody is very obsessive, you know, there are some parents, oh, I just want the best for you. And they hold the children and they'll let them free and they dictate them what to do and how to be. Oh, I just want the best for you. This is kind of the mania. Then we have ludus, the playful love. Like this is now the more like also a childlike love, to have a crush on somebody. It describes a situation that, you know, like when you adore somebody and you put it on a pedestal and you adore that person. But this is also something which usually does not last long, this kind of affection between young lovers that I was talking about before already. This is that straw fire. That is like, there is no substance, but there is a very strong attraction. And this is happening in school, that like kids, they kind of have a crush on somebody. It's not really falling in love, but you know, I have a crush on this girl, but you know, if she doesn't want, this girl is nice too, I can have a crush on the other one too. So this is interchangeable. This is not like really a holding. So this is more like, yeah, the playful, the funny love, or to have fun with somebody. It goes even further, that like when you look at the progression of our age, we have also, like, we in astrology sometimes we say that each part is the 7-year cycle. So we have from 14 to 21, that is the Gemini cycle. That is the time that we say it's time to connect with others, the butterfly time, go and go around with others, have fun with others. That is also the first experience of sex. That's not the time to have children, but the first time to experience sex in a more playful way. in a way that we don't yet procreate and take it seriously. And in older times, that was a different story and was allowed very often. And the women, they had natural ways of making sure they don't get the baby, you know. Like, I know, but I don't remember now what it was, something about papaya. Like, there is a time when you eat papaya, you don't get pregnant, and you cannot eat papayas, or the opposite way around. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was a lot of natural ways that you don't conceive. And in this time, I believe also that the whole illness connected to sexuality has something just to do with the selfishness. And remember, when we talk about illness, if you have just playful fun and don't want to hurt somebody, and have like, when it ends up in sex, that is the experience. How can you know? When you are getting married with somebody and you have never had sex and never had any experience with sex, how can you know that this is gonna work out? We are very, very lost in this topic in our so-called civilization. So I'm not so sure anymore how civil we are. And then is the next one is the pragma, the enduring love. And you know, also the word of pragmatic. This is like also like enduring can be also like a prison, you know. Pragma is a love built on commitment, understanding, and long-term best interests. It is a love that has aged, matured, and about making compromises to help the relationship work over time, also showing patience and tolerance. So we can say this is very often a kind of love for people who are already more mature. Like, for example, if two widowers get together, there is no like this big fire falling in love, but they want to create a partnership to help each other, because based more, again, we have more on the love of friendship. I know a sample of this. I never thought about it, but this is also, he was a widower, she was a schoolmate of mine, and she was also a woman who is not, she was never so much like into the party girl like we were at one time. And this widower had already 2 or 3 children. And he was also at least 10 years older than we were. And she was, you know, this was the kind of love that connected them in a way, this pragmatic love. And actually, they're still married. And she had 2 more kids. They have 5 children now, and she has lots of grandchildren, and she's totally happy. But she was not the butterfly type, you know. So this pragmatic love did really work out for them, because when she got married, she had already to take over a household and 2 and 3 relatively small children, which is quite difficult, you know, to be the stepmother. They were already young teenagers, I think, the first. So it was not that they were still babies. So, but she was, and it really worked out. It very much happens on the how you approach it and what you expect. So you can also see there are many different kind of people. They need different kind of love. So you cannot say it's a one love or the other is really good or bad. The only thing is when love turns into obsession and becomes a mania, that is on the negative pole, definitely. And even enduring pragmatic love can become negative. It becomes just habit, you know. There is no feeling into it anymore. But in this case, it really did work out. And he is also a guy, he had a very good business, and they have a house somewhere in South Africa and in the French part or the Italian part of Switzerland and here, so they go here and there, and she is totally that kind of type who loves that, and is not like, it's more like a host. She's like, she likes to be a host, but she does not like to go out for parties. So you see, we cannot say love is just one thing and define it. There are many different kinds of love, but love and not love. So we have to be very careful, and I think it's very sad for our generations also, like goes back also, I don't know how far it goes back to my grandparents, but I know that they had already a very different approach, which was much more also on mutual respect. I think what is really missing today is respect. People don't respect each other anymore because they cannot see the divine in the other. Once you really see that everybody else is the expression of a divine manifestation of a person, persona, of a personality, then you change your attitude.
So is there any advice on what kind of love that we should aim for?
Well, I think the final goal is definitely to reach agape at one time, you know. And you have all the other kind of love to experience, sympathy, respect, and many other virtues in a way that you can learn through relationship, through being connected with other people. And it doesn't matter if it's even in sexual love. There is a whole tantric way to enlightenment through sexuality. And there are emotional ways. There are like the meditative way that you can find this feeling. And I know that you all have meditated before, so I have experienced the feeling, but I cannot tell you. That's why for me, I would explain it much more as like a complete quiet peace, not wanting anything anymore, just that state of complete peace. But then you come back into the normal life, and it's like up and down, and you go into emotions again. But once you have experienced that state, you never lose it. You know it's there. And from this knowledge, you act differently. It changes something in you once you have experienced it. So I do recommend to find meditation the way, but meditation is not sitting still and cross your legs. You know, there are many other ways of meditation. For me, it's more active. Like, you know, when you have a Sun Neptune, it's more or less like you can more sit quiet, but Sun Uranus is more like that kind of explosive. So for me, it happens more like in a different way. But I was also in sitting meditation for many years. But when I look back at my progression at that time, I have this affinity for this kind of meditation. So again, astrology can help a lot, that you can recommend people what kind of meditation they should do and where they can find the peace the easiest way.
So the way to reach the agape kind of love is only through meditation, or is there any steps that you recommend? Okay, after Eros, the Philia, and then what else?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's not a letter. You have to do this or that first. I think agape is just connected with the consciousness level, you know. Once you raise your consciousness level, like again, using Dr. David Hawkins' consciousness table, when you reach 500 love, and when you come into that consciousness level, love, unconditional love, peace, up there between 500 and 600, you're there. That's it. there's nothing you can really do to get there. If there are people that meditate for 10, 20 years, they're not there. Then somebody goes for a walk in the forest and something like, wow, is suddenly there. You can, for example, maybe use it as an affirmation, or like in a little meditation in the morning. I mean, I still do that I reconnect with my divine self in the morning and ask for guidance. And you can say, it is my intention to reach agape one day. To be completely in that consciousnmet level of agape. I think that's the best. But I have met many monks, not just in Thailand, in other countries too. And I really honestly have never seen, I have seen a person who was living agape, but it wasn't a monk.
Wow.
Interesting.
And for most other people, it's a moment. It doesn't last. You can experience it in a meditative state. But again, I'm not talking about cross-leg meditation. There are many different meditative states that you have that glimpse, that you experience that. But then it goes away once you have to step out in your daily life again, but you keep it. It's like once you have reached a certain consciousness level, it's never going to go away completely.
I think people these days don't really understand the definition of love.
No, they don't. No, you're right, they don't. Very, very little people. And unfortunately, even many who teach meditation, religion, whatever, have no idea what love really is. They have never experienced it themselves. That's how can you teach this? It's not something you can teach, it's something you experience. So the best teachers are those who help you to go into an experience. So in a way, when you go to meditate in a meditation retreat or whatever you do, you have more chance to experience that. And if you do, again, walking meditation or whatever meditation, to calm down and to center yourself in that heart completely, in the heart, we can say in the brain cells of the heart, to experience that moment of agape. Okay?
Very good.
Okay. So I will send you the text that you can keep it afterwards, that you can have that. Okay, so thank you for watching. Thank you for your questions, and we'll see you next week again. Please like the video and subscribe if you like it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.